In my backyard. I live on a river, which is awesome. I'm lucky like that. It's kind of cold, but you know, it's a nice day in the spring. So I was watching YouTube the other day, as we all basically spend 50% of our time doing now. And I was watching Curtis Stone. So he calls himself the urban farmer, and he was doing his strawberry patch. So he has his strawberries in a raised bed. It's a really great video, and I'll put the link for that video in the description below this video. But so he was ripping out all his strawberries and replanting them. And so I thought, hey, I'll rip out all my strawberries and replant them too, because why not? So I have a really small little strawberry patch at home here. So this is it here. Not very huge. And we made about double the amount of plants last year in babies. So they all got to get re-spaced out. So I'm going to re-space them out today and make the garden bigger. So I've started doing this area here now. And so I'm just taking off the top layer of grass and then seeing what the soil's like underneath. So this is for all the people that are going to make a garden bed on the cheap this year in their backyard. You don't have to have a raised bed, as I said in the first video. It's totally not mandatory. You can just do what I'm doing here. So all I'm doing is ripping out all the grass and then taking off as much of the soil as I can from the grass. So you rip out a chunk and then you want it to just be the grass and the roots that you're throwing out. You can usually reuse your soil and kind of amend it so that it works. So the soil that I have here, you'll see I'll clump it. I'm going to push my hand really hard and it's going to stay in the ball. And so if you remember from our video before, that means that this soil has way too much clay in it. So it doesn't crumble at all. It's mostly clay, which is not surprising. We're in the Ottawa Valley, so it's good farm country. It's good for water, water movement and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just not great for the roots of the plants to grow in this kind of clay. It's too thick. It won't be able to fall apart. So what I'm going to do today, sorry, this little tripod thing that I have my phone on is garbaggio. Okay. So today I'm just going to rip out the rest of this grass. I got halfway through and realized I thought maybe you guys at home might want to see what I'm doing, since strawberries are awesome to have as a growing at home. Okay, so I'm going to talk about strawberries for a minute then. Okay, so strawberries are really easy to grow. There's lots of different varieties. You like how many boats we have in our backyard? Sorry. Okay, so they're really, really easy to grow. They are a hardy plant. They survive winter almost every year. They're great. There's lots of different varieties of strawberries now. And so I would try and pick an ever-bearing strawberry. So this is a strawberry that makes fruit almost the whole season, like the whole summer. Once it gets kind of like super hot in July, a lot of the time they'll stop making strawberries and then start making them again. It all depends on how great you are at watering them, really. Like berries need a lot of water to grow, so if you don't water them very often, they'll just stop making berries. The plant will be fine, but they'll just stop making berries. So you want strawberries to grow in kind of very organic soil. So it's kind of loamy soil. It's got a lot of compost, maybe some peat moss mixed in. They usually have like wood chips or straw on top of them as well. It keeps the soil really, really wet. You want it to be really loose and have lots of organic material. Strawberries, maybe I'll get a plant here so you can see. I found some babies as I was ripping out the grass, so isn't that always great? So I'll show you a little strawberry plant here. Okay, here's one. Okay, so this is a strawberry plant. So I'm going to try and get it so you can see it. There you go. So they have like almost no roots at all. They sit like right on the surface of the soil. So they don't need to have like a foot of nice loose dirt to grow, like carrots or stuff like that. So they just need a lot of organic material that stays wet because their root system doesn't go deep enough into the soil to actually keep them hydrated. They need to kind of have that wet soil that they're sitting in. So I'm going to finish ripping out all of the grass here. And then I'm going to amend my super clay soil, take out any rocks you find or things that are probably not great, large sticks, stuff like that. And then I'm going to amend the soil here by, I'm going to amend the soil here by adding in a little bit of sand, some peat moss, and a lot of compost. And then that will make my soil less like clay and more organic, and then hopefully my strawberries will do better. So the video that started all of this was Curtis Stone's. He was saying how it's best to rip your strawberries out every single season. And I do not disagree with this. I have never ripped out this strawberry patch merely because it's kind of in the shade, so they don't proliferate quite as much as they would normally. But strawberries make 1 million strawberry babies every single year. So you don't want to have a big clump of like 10 strawberry plants all stuck together in a really small space. You're not going to get good strawberries, and you're not going to get very many of those strawberries. So you're going to get smaller strawberries, and you're going to have production slow down quicker because you have too many plants in a small space competing for water, is basically what it comes down to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out all of my strawberry plants and split them into individual root balls. So it's like where the leaves start coming out of the ground, each one of those is a singular plant, and they can all be divided up. I'll space them 6 inches apart, and then I'll put them in rows. Each row is about 8 inches apart, and then I mulch the whole thing with either natural cedar mulch, just cheap. I think it's like $3 a bag or whatever, or you can put in hay. Either one is fine. You need to have mulch on a strawberry garden though. You cannot let it get dried out at all, and you also don't want slugs. So when you put mulch down or hay, it keeps the area that you're working in, like where your strawberries are or where other plants like zucchini and stuff sometimes, it keeps the slugs out of there because they don't like crawling over a material that's kind of sharp and pointy like that. It's not easy for them, so they'll kind of pick a different way to go. I also recommend my crappy little chicken wire fence here. It's going to get redone too. So I'll show my after pictures once I'm done all of this in a week or so. So you kind of want to have a fence around your strawberries too. They're a really favorite treat of a lot of animals that might live near or in your backyard. So it's best not to have to worry about that. If you have a lot of birds in your area, so I know some people have like bird feeders in their backyard and stuff. Birds also really like strawberries. So you're going to want to net the top of your strawberry patch as well as putting a whole fence around the outside to keep out rabbits and everything else that likes to eat berries. And then, so yeah, I'm going to dig it all out, and I'm just going to shake off the grass. So if you're building any sort of vegetable bed, this is the same process. So you cut out a square of grass, just try and shake off as much of dirt as you can. And then once you're finished all of that, you can see what type of soil you have. Depending on what type of soil you have, you're going to add in whatever you don't have, basically. So if you have too much clay, you're adding in compost, peat moss, sand. If you have too loose of soil, then you have too much sand. Then you're going to add in a little bit of clay if you can, and then always some compost. And then if you have too much compost, which I don't really think that's possible, but if you have soil that's just like a little bit too organic and it doesn't really like let the water flow, you know, like that kind of like, it's almost like swampy soil, like it's really moist all the time. You don't really want that either because it can harbor some of the funguses and stuff that aren't that great for your plants. And so you're going to add in a little bit of sand probably to that soil just to let the water move a little bit better. And just trying to get your soil so that when you make a fist, you make a ball, when you open your hand, it kind of falls apart naturally and it doesn't clump into a solid ball and it doesn't have the ability not to ball at all. So I'm going to end up having about 5 rows of strawberry plants here, and it's going to be probably about 4 or 5 plants per row. So that'll bring us, in our family, we get about a bowl, like a big bowl. So it's probably about 2 cups of strawberries a week. Because last year we got about 1 cup of strawberries a week, so we're doubling the size of our strawberry patch. So this year we'll probably get about 2 cups of strawberries a week from mid-June until September, if you take care of them properly, and they're ever-bearing strawberries. So most of the time, if you see strawberry plants now, often you see them at like Loblaws or Canadian Tire. Those are ever-bearing varieties. As I've stated in my other videos, I really do suggest that you buy your plants from a nursery. You're going to get much better quality plants that are much better taken care of. But if you are out and about and you kind of just have to grab it where you are, basically any ever-bearing kind of strawberry will do fine. There are a lot of strawberry variations out there. So you get a lot of like the pineapple strawberry, and you're going to get a lot of different kinds like that. So they've kind of messed with the flavors. There's nothing wrong with these plants. I just find a lot of the time, the further you deviate from the natural, the less yield you get. So the strawberry... Sorry about that. So yeah, I was throwing the stick for my dog and I ripped out my own headphones. So yeah, I try to just stick to the regular red strawberries, you know, as close as you can to the original plant. I find kind of does better for the amateur gardener. If you already have that kind of strawberry and you want to try a new kind, sure. But if you're just starting out, first kind of strawberry, I would pick the most generic kind of strawberry you can get. They're probably going to be the best kind. So, and if you know somebody who grows strawberries, ask them if you can have a few plants, because I guarantee you, unless they're increasing their patch like I am, they have extra. They usually just throw them out because they make each, like mother plant will make probably about 10 different offshoots every year if it's a healthy plant. So that's a lot. In the video that inspired all of this, Curtis Stone's video, I think he said he increased it 5-fold. So that's like a lot of more plants. If you're not increasing your space, then basically they just get chucked. So there's lots of people out there that could probably give you plants for free. And if not, go to your local nursery and ask them, and I bet you they'll have some great varieties for you. So when you're planting them, you want strawberries to kind of sit up a little bit. So I plant them in a row, a mounded row, the same as I do my vegetables and stuff, except for this mound is smaller. So total width across the mound is like max a foot. It's not even that big. It's probably about 8 inches. Just a little hump, and the strawberries sit right on top of it. And then you mulch everything around that to make it kind of equal. And so that gives the strawberries even more moisture to collect in the soil that's kind of above the ground. That'll hold the moisture a little bit better. And it keeps them up a little bit also, less like more airflow through the strawberries. So you're less likely to get kind of like full molds growing on your actual berries. And this is one thing that strawberries have a lot of trouble with, is that they're very low to the ground. So you're often going to get molds or fungi growing underneath their leaves or on the berries themselves, which ruins your crop because then it just kind of all rots right away. So once the soil, I've cut it all out and I've got the soil amended, I'm going to plant them all into rows on top of the mounds, and they won't do much until it warms up. So you don't really need to worry too much about doing anything else to keep them going. You just kind of set them up, and then once they're up and pumping, you want to kind of be checking on them pretty frequently. So I'd say every couple of days you kind of come in and check on them Make sure you're cleaning up dead leaves that are on them. Make sure you don't have any bugs living in there or rodents that have gotten past your fencing and have decided to eat all your little baby strawberries. And just kind of keep your patch looking pretty clean. And then you'll notice right away when you have strawberries, as soon as they're red, pick them. Don't leave them for tomorrow, because you'll come back tomorrow and something else will have eaten it. They can smell them when they're ripe, and they're just in there right away and trying to find a way to eat them. So I always try and pick them every couple of days. The kids, that's their chore. They come out with a little bowl and pick out whatever berries we have left in the berry patch and bring them inside and eat them basically right away. So they don't last long. They're not something, unless you're doing a major space, that you can use for storage. But it is something that you can substitute, right? So if you're regularly buying 2 cups of strawberries from the grocery store every week and they come from California, well, you can switch that up, and now you're getting 2 cups of strawberries from your backyard for like 4 to 5 months of every year. So it's just the little switches, I think, that can change how your produce is coming into your family. And it also kind of gives your kids or your family that joy of seeing the fruit grow and then eating it, and they taste so good when you eat them directly off. Everyone knows what it's like when you go strawberry picking and you eat the berries the whole time. Those are the best strawberries you ever get. The second you pick it, that's the best strawberry that you're ever going to get. So biggest things for strawberries is making sure you have good, nice, organic, loose soil. You're prepared to water them. Like every couple of days, you got to make sure they don't dry out once it gets hot. And you got to come in and pick the berries and clean the plants up just to keep them pumping and producing. And then you'll be golden. So when I'm done this patch, I'll do another quick little video so you guys can see how it's ended up lined up. Or I'll do a post on my Facebook page just with pictures of it, so you can see how I arranged it and what the end result was. And then maybe I'll do an update video in a couple of months so you can see how much production it's giving us at the end of June. Okay, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to answer any questions about strawberries or any other plant you've been thinking about growing. Bye.